opioids, the medical equivalent of heroin, were prescribed without medical justification.
Elsie Devine was one of the many victims. She was in Gosport Hospital recovering from a kidney infection when she was given the powerful sedatives, which an inquest later found were not appropriate for her condition and contributed to her death.
Well, Elsie's daughter, Ann Reeves, joins us now. Anne, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Has been a long, hard fight, hasn't it?
Yes, it certainly has. 18 years of my life, hundreds and hundreds of letters, blocked by every government body and quango, and there was no way of breaking through. We had no legal support, no legal funding, no counselling.
And all along you had, presumably, a suspicion.
Well,
that...
initially I didn't, in the respect that when I had the phone call from my brother Harry to say my mum had 36 hours to live, I was in shock. We were in Hammersmith. My husband was having a bone marrow transplant. We rushed down to mum, and she was completely comatose. No chance to speak to her. So when we then moved on after she died, we wanted to know exactly what happened.
Yeah. She was 88 years old.
She was 88.
She'd had a kidney infection.
Yes, she had a UTI. She went into the QA. She was treated and discharged, but because we had, you know, quite a large family home, I didn't want her to be rambling around in that and worried, because it's her first time in hospital. It was very traumatic for her too. She was taken out of her environment and put there, and I thought she was in the best care.
So what was it then? You say that your brother rang to say...
And he said, Anne, he said, bad news, I'm afraid. And I said, you know, I had no idea what he was going to say to me. He said, Mummy's been given 36 hours to live. And
as far as you were aware at that point, she'd got over the infection and she was just...
Oh, she was already 4 weeks into the Gosport War Memorial. She was writing... We had gone down to see her once a week, leaving one of us with my husband. So she wasn't happy. There was always tears and hugs, and but she wrote to us. She sent get well cards, which was posted by my brother.
So she was well enough to sit up and write and talk.
My mother got out of bed every day. She dressed herself. She fed herself. She chose her food from the menu. She had no pain. She did not have cancer.
So, Anne, when did you start to think that actually something serious has gone wrong here?
Well, initially, we got home when Davey came out of hospital. And I have to say here, you know, he had the best care there. And apart from all this going on now, you know, we do have wonderful doctors and nurses in our NHS. And I can't stress that enough.
But they failed your mother.
But she... We wrote about Max Millett, who was the CEO at the time, and we said, you know, could you let us know what drugs my mother was given? Can we look at the medical file? When was her lab bloods test? Because I know all those sort of things. And he wrote back and he said he would look into it all. And his words in a letter were, I don't know what's gone wrong on this occasion, because Dr. Jane Barton is a well-respected member of the Trust. And I had to believe that. But what I didn't know was there was a police investigation going on into that doctor, and it had been going on since, I think, October '98.
You then saw the results of the inquiry yesterday. They're, I mean, utterly damning. That there was an institutionalised regime of prescribing and administering these opioids without medical justification at the hospital, that it didn't just happen tragically in the case of your mother, but in 455 other cases.
And maybe potentially more.
And potentially more. You are now crowdfunding, aren't you? Because
yes,
you
we are.
want to take legal action.
We have never had any, as I said, any support or legal funding. And I do not want this government or the Department of Health. This is our 12th inquiry. Enough is enough.
Yes.
We need funding, and I don't want them sitting on this report whatever long it's going to take them, as they have done in past in other reports. So we are now crowdfunding to get a barrister.
The report said there was a disregard for human life, a culture of shortening lives of a large number of patients.
It was very, very traumatic yesterday. No one will never know what went on in that cathedral. It was absolutely devastating.
These were...
And I thought I was a strong person. I was not in control of myself. The investigation is in this report. We've been back to the CPS 3 times. There's this closure, and I want justice. I want justice for all those people, not only my mum.
And I can imagine every single person watching is right behind you. And thank you very much indeed for
Thank you
joining
very much
us.
for having me and
pleasure.
putting it out there.